What's up, guys? Welcome back to episode 9 of Imperfect, and I got a special guest for you guys today. I'm super excited to be bringing on Tessla. How you doing?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I've been wanting you on for a minute. Like, I was just like, as soon as I started this podcast thing, I was like, I got to get Tessla on this.
Well, I'm excited to be here.
Yes. So today's gonna be a little bit heavier of an episode. Just giving everybody a heads up. Me and Tessla have worked together before. I guess you're technically my client in a way when, because I was doing video for you-ish kind of thing,
Yeah.
But, yeah, so I just want to jump in and say that we made a video together, how to report a rape. A very heavy video.
Yeah.
It was a tough subject, but jumping into everything, I want to start by what led you to make that poem?
Well, I've always dabbled in poetry my whole life, but about 2 years before I wrote that poem, I had written one called I'm Sorry, which was a series of personal experiences that had happened to me. And it got me to a point where I realized I wanted to do something more, help people who have been in my position. So I wrote How to Report a Rape, which, like you said, is really, really heavy, but it's something that needs to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people think it's based off a personal story, but it's actually based off of a series of stories that have happened to both me and many, many of my friends. So I took basically a collaboration of all the things we've gone through, of friends who have tried to report, of friends who haven't reported, and I've taken all the backlash and all the fighting from no matter what way you do it, someone's going to tell you you're doing it wrong. And I wanted to get that out there to show that right now, there's no real escape for a survivor. You survived, and that's amazing. And I'm really happy for all the people that have, but we need to create a space in which a survivor can do something about it other than just continue on.
Right. No, I totally agree. It's that poem. I mean, I don't even think we were friends on Facebook. I'm pretty sure.
No, I'm pretty sure you just saw it because it
went
almost viral, 100,000
it
views.
was very viral. So, I mean, what we're referring to is Tessla made this awesome poem called How to Report a Rape. And we weren't friends, but someone shared it or somehow I was scrolling on my timeline and I was like, holy shit, this thing has 100,000 views. And I was like, holy crap. And I was like, that's average. I mean, it could be whatever until I went to your profile. I was like, oh my God, she lives where I live. I was like, this is crazy. What? So I went back and I was like, I got to check this thing out. Like something come out of this city or this town. Like I was like, I got to see this, you know what I'm saying? And so I was like, okay, so I watched the whole thing and I was like, wow. I was personally very just empowered. I've never, witnessed things like that, so it was like, this is powerful, and it still hit me. So I was like, I gotta get involved some way somehow. And so since I own a film business, I was like, I'm just gonna reach out to this random person and be like, hey, do you want to make a video? And so I did. I was like, hey, I love your poem. I mean, it's blowing up, and I think it's very powerful, and I think it's a different perspective and all this. And I was like, hey, do you want to shoot a film? And
yeah, I was really excited when you actually contacted me about that, and the work we did together was actually pretty amazing. I feel like we made something even more powerful when we put an actual video to it.
Right? No, thank you so much. I think it was super fun, or not fun, but it was very, I don't know, I felt like I was doing something. You know what I'm saying? Same thing, like how you were trying to get that message out. I was like, I need to help do this. And so I was like, let's make a film. And so, yeah, me and Tessla jumped up on a film together. We scripted, we story wrote so many times and found actors and, rebuilt it over and over and over again to where we could take the poem and get the audio of that poem and then put a film or a story to that poem. And I think we did pretty solid when we put it together. It was very hard when we were filming. Like I said, it was hard to be super serious, but that's the point of a film. And that was my first short film. So I was researching a lot. I was like, I want this to be really solid, even though it's very controversial. It's hard to talk about.
Yeah, it was even harder to act.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's right. But you did good.
Thanks.
Good. It was awesome. And we even got my fiance in it. We had some last minute actors and stuff. But it came together really well. So we made that film, How to Report a Rape, and we put it out in the world. What is some feedback that you got back?
Well, I've gotten a lot of positive things. I had a lot of people, a lot of girls message me personally. Ever since that video came out, I have had hundreds of people, even today, months later, still coming forward and telling me
Wow.
their stories. And it's really sad that there are hundreds of people that have to tell me their stories, but I'm really glad that they feel able to reach out to me. On the other hand, I've seen the comments on the original video, and one lady in particular sticks out to me. I'm sure you remember her, the one who said it was both my fault and his fault for what had happened.
Yeah.
And I just want to say to anyone listening, it is never your fault for what someone else does to you. They can control themselves. It doesn't matter if they were drunk too. They should know better. We have gotten to a point in society where we know what is and isn't okay. And it is not ever okay to blame someone for what happened to them.
Exactly. Oh, I 100% agree. I mean, it's as simple as someone's holding a knife and they put it in your heart. Like, how did you at all ask for that? And then, anybody's going to bring up the conversation of, oh, she dressed like it, or she's acting like it, or, I mean, we all see the stereotypical things that she's led herself to that position.
Right.
Like, how does that make you feel when someone says something like that?
It really, honestly, it makes me angry because I could be standing right in front of you, buck naked, and unless I give you permission, you have no right to touch me. I mean, even dogs know better. You put a steak in front of a dog and you tell a dog no, and they're not going to do it.
Yeah, big facts. Yeah, big facts.
We should hold everyone else to that same standard, men and women alike. Don't touch someone unless they've given explicit permission. I think that's actually part of why I wore that outfit for that video. I think you and I talked about it was we had talked about how people, one of the first questions people normally ask, one of the first questions I've been asked is, what were you wearing? And it shouldn't matter what I was wearing. I could have been wearing overalls. I could have been wearing a burqa.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. Getting that through people it's so infuriating. Like it's like, so, okay, again, going back to like the stabbing thing. It's like, oh, you got stabbed. What were you wearing? Like, did you lead him to like stab you? It's like, no, like that person thought violence and then acted upon his thoughts, which is not okay. It doesn't matter who or what does what. I mean, it's the same thing. It's like, you take a baby on a plane and the baby's being loud and then you hear like the guy like slaps the baby. It's like, dude, why did you slap my baby or something? But like, seriously, it's like, why would you slap the baby? But someone's like, dude, like, because he was crying. it's like you there's just like that barrier of like, you never touch another human being.
Right.
And I had a person come on here. So, oh my God, I had a person come on here, Whitney Richardson, and we started talking, about this incident that I went through where someone put their hands on someone that was close to me, and this person that's close to me is young, like 12 years old, and this person that touched him and put his arm around him is like 30 something plus, and this person was calling him names, so he decided to get pissed about it and go choke him out with his arm. So, like, this is, relating it back to the situation, it's like, what in the world gives you the right, because a child said something to you, because what you're wearing, because what they said, because XYZ never gives you the right to ever touch another human being. I can't even describe that. It's just weird.
Exactly. It's honestly really ridiculous. With any acts of violence, you don't hear anybody else saying that. If someone gets mugged, you don't ask them why they were wearing a gold chain. If someone gets punched in the face, you don't ask them why they were talking crap.
Yeah, right.
It's honestly really ridiculous because any other act of violence, nobody's going to ask what you did. But rape, which is an act of violence, it is an act of overpowering someone and traumatizing them. It's people still somehow find a way to blame the receiving end of that, and it's victim's a little touchy of a word.
I know, but no, I definitely see what you're saying. It's such a hard culture thing to get through and pass, because you're right. Like, every time like you see these stories, and it's so much to do with the news that you see, being on the consumer end, it's like you see so many people that were like, oh, like, he raped me. And then you see some of them, not all, but you do see some of them get off the hook or whatever, and maybe they actually didn't, or maybe they were actually proven wrong. And you're like, oh, see, woman lie. And it's just like one of those stupid things that it's like, it's so infuriating that people have to like bunch a group together because of one instance or two or three. It's like every instance I think needs to be looked at.
Yeah,
You know,
especially when the instances of false accusations are actually so rare.
mm,
Men are more likely to get raped in their lifetime than they are to be falsely accused of raped. They're actually, like, I think it's what, 20 times more likely to be sexually assaulted than they are to be falsely accused. The
really.
percentage of false accusations is so infinitesimal. It's so, so tiny that it's honestly a ridiculous argument, and it's used every single time someone comes out about it because they see the guy and or the girl and they're like, "Oh, they're a
Mm,
great person. They could never possibly do such a thing." But it's that's often not the case. Just because someone presents themselves as their best person to the public does not mean that they are not doing horrible things behind closed doors.
oh yeah.
We've heard church the churches, right, molesting little boys. And
But no, they won't do that. They can't do that. Yeah.
right, you think, oh, my pastor could never do that, or the priest could never do that, but they can. Every
Hmm.
human being is capable
Of
of
doing
rape.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I definitely believe there's a stigma when it comes to like anybody is capable. You know,
Yeah.
anybody and everybody. I mean, I probably have friends that have done, maybe not rape, but have done things in their life that they're not proud of that I may not hear of.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so I definitely could agree that anybody could do anything, especially under the right circumstances. Because I mean, I don't drink alcohol, but I have, I maybe it's because I haven't done it enough. But every time I drink, I know that I'm not acting how normal Gage acts. You
Yeah,
know
right.
what I'm saying? And I think that's a big reason why I don't drink or do these things is because it's I don't even want to put myself in a position where anything might happen. Not rape. I'm just saying like drinking
Yeah.
or driving or doing a stupid decision that I wouldn't make if I was sober.
Right.
So that gives me so much anxiety. I have anxiety already as it is, but it gives me anxiety when I drink, and it's like you can't not control yourself, but you can't.
Your
Yeah,
inhibitions kind of cut
yeah,
down.
like your level of decision making changes. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? It's like it's like when I got drunk, I was like, I would never go to Taco Bell at 3 a.m, but I did. And I walked. Like, why the hell would I do that? I would never do that sober. It's like that's cold. But it's like that. I mean, that was harmless, but it's like, that is a point that like
Yeah.
I notice in myself that, it's one of those things. So you're right. I think anybody can be capable of anything. That's absolutely right. But the false accusations, it's hard to it's so hard because it's like at the end of the day, it's like what two people were in that room. You know what I'm saying? And it's those two people. And I mean, it's very rare. I think you're right. I think it's very rare. I think false accusations are like a very rare thing, especially when you're like reading online and this and that. Like most of the time they ended up like like being proved that they did it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's one of the hardest things when you come forward, is that oftentimes there isn't proof, and they have rape kits, right? And I did mention that in my poem as well. Stuck in a cobweb corner where only the spiders have read it. The thing is, with rape kits, they could help prove so many instances. They could actually definitively show that is this person's DNA inside
Just show the
this
fact.
person. Yeah. But unfortunately, they don't test rape kits, and people say that's very rare and that doesn't happen. But they have shown in news stories plenty of times. There was this one major hospital, 27,000 rape kits, untested, untouched, and that honestly infuriates me. People claim there's no evidence, and then when the evidence is right there in front of them, they refuse to touch it, and that rape kits only last so long before they're not usable anymore, and they need to be tested immediately. Otherwise, how else are they going to prove
Exactly. And I think that's the biggest thing of what we wanted to portray. So when we made that film, I think the backlash I got was, about that. As I literally had a girl go to my website and write me because she like got so pissed on all my comments and all that stuff and just blew up and got all mad. So I blocked her. She went to my website and had to write me through my like website messenger, and I was like, oh my gosh. And her whole point is like, you can't tell people how to act when they get raped. And so it makes me think as a filmmaker, I'm like, did I not, first of all, I didn't think about it, but I was like, still, did I not get that point across that it's like, it's never telling somebody how to act. I can't tell you how to act. Like if your mom passes away, I'm not gonna be like, oh, be happy. Like you'll get over it. Like you can't tell. Like they have to go through it no matter what. But I think what we were trying to portray in that film was like, hey, if it does happen, just like I know as hard as it can be, but we just want to try to encourage you, not tell you, but encourage you to do that so that you can prove it and end it early. because you're right. It's so much back and forth, and it's like the false and the this, and it's just so much back and forth in the court system that people are like, I don't know what to believe or who to believe or what led to what because of what. But it's like, you're right. If they had that rape kit in the beginning, it's like, dude, I did the rape kit. This proves this happened. I have this evidence. I have the semen or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And then, not case closed, but it's a very high
pretty
lifter.
Obvious. Yeah. She had a point in that victims shouldn't be told what to do, but I agree with you that that was not ever our intention. The entire point of making it was to show that we want people to be able to come forward. It wasn't a discussion on how a victim should handle it. It was a discussion on how we as society should handle it. Because when a victim comes forward, they are asked, what did they wear? What did they do? Why were they doing that? Why did they invite it? Instead, we should be asking the rapist or the molester, why did you do that? What were you thinking? Why would you try to inert that act of violence on anybody else? And yeah, I guess that was really just our point, was we need to change how we view the survivor before we tell the survivor how to react with it, because reporting is often just as traumatizing as the rape itself. And I know that seems melodramatic, but when they do the kit, they have to get up inside you. They have to touch you in ways that you're not comfortable with, but you have to allow that if you want any form of evidence. But if they do that and then they don't even test it, then you were just hurt again for nothing.
I totally agree. It's something that needs to be done, or that should not need. Sorry, but it should be something to be done to further like that whole thought and to get justice. It's so hard because like all I can relate to is like I've lost people, and you get so many friends and family like, oh, you'll be okay, like you'll get through this, and it's just like like I just lost like my hero, my grandma. You know what I'm saying? She wasn't even that old. She was pretty young, and it's hard to go through. And it's like, so people telling me would never change because I have to go through it my own way.
Right.
And so, like we said, I think we were just trying to encourage, you know what I'm saying? And I think all people, when someone passed away, that's what they're just trying to be good at heart, saying, hey, you will get through this. Like, just stay strong. You got this, And it's like, if you look at it from that perspective, you're like, okay, like, thank you for so much for reaching out. Like, I'm going to keep that in mind. I'm going to fight this. I'm going to get stronger, and I'm going to get over this and, move on with whatever I got left, kind of thing. And so, encouraging it.
Yeah, the key with survivors and with people who have lost someone is you don't force them into a way of grieving. You just accept them as they are, and you try to be there to support them. Instead of, asking a million questions, like, say, if someone came up to you and asked you why you didn't talk to your grandma more before it happened, you'd probably be pretty crushed, right?
Right, yeah.
So instead of asking your friend what she did to deserve her, ask her if she's okay, ask her what she can do, ask him what you can do. Just try to see what you can do for them instead of asking them what they should have done for themselves, because it is infuriating and it makes them blame themselves, and I can't begin to tell you how traumatizing it is to think you're the reason that happened to you.
Right. And that's definitely not good. Like, it's so hard just to understand and cope. Like I said, like I've never been through that, or I may have known people. I haven't asked this deep of questions, like like these kind of things.
Well, we appreciate that.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Like I'm not gonna dip my toe in those kind of waters because, like I said, like if I don't know how to relate, so I can't. When I see someone else like lose a loved one, it's like, oh my god, like I know how that feels, and I've had it happen multiple times now. And it's hard, but going through something that's like you don't know, it's hard because like I'm just a consumer when I read the stories and I read the headlines and this person was raped or this person touched 300 girls and all this shit, and you're just like reading and you're like, Jesus Christ, like this is so fucked up. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And you're right. I wish it was something that wasn't a problem, but I think you're right when it's happening way too fucking much.
I mean, it's become just a statistic now. 1 in 5 women are going to be sexually assaulted in their lifetime. It's worse for Native American women. It's 1 in 3. Yeah. I've had people tell me that it's only 1 in 17 men who would do it.
Jesus.
But I struggle to see how 1 in 17 are doing it to 1 in 5 and 1 in 3.
Right.
Because that would mean 1 man would have to do it to 14 women in his life.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah,
you're right. Your math's on point. Yeah. Yeah, that's fucked. But maybe, I that's possible. You take one fucked up mind that can do it once, they definitely can do it again. You know.
Unfortunately, a lot of the women I've talked to and a lot of the women in my life, it has happened to them multiple times through different people. I mean, personally, this is on a real personal level. It's happened to me 14 times in 22 years.
Jesus Christ. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry.
I'm working on it. I still struggle. I still go to counseling, which is also very important for survivors to do. See someone about it. See someone who's not going to judge you, who's not going to ask you what you did. Go find some counselors out there will do that, and that's not the counselor for you.
Right.
Go find somebody who is, and if you can't afford a counselor, find just a listening ear. Find somebody who's willing to listen and who's willing to let you get that all off your chest, because keeping it inside is horrible. I didn't realize how much it was detrimental to me until I finally got it out there. I put it on a more public platform than most people would probably be comfortable with. But once you get it out there, once you get it off your chest, it feels amazing. You feel lighter. So if you take anything from today, just take that. Go talk to somebody. Don't keep it to yourself, because it's a demon you can't battle alone.
Oh, yeah. I had a guest, Lana Wadsworth, came on, and we were talking about anxiety, and we were talking about suicide, and so many of these things that relate is, like, these traumatic experiences. Like, talking to somebody is absolutely everything and anything. Like, I had a lot of weight on me for a long time about numerous things and instances that happened to me in my life, and I held it in for so long, and then finally kind of was talking to people and more and getting it out. And it, like you said, it like the 100% hit it on the point when it's like I feel so much less heavy when someone else can not only like understand but also relate. When you talk to somebody and you're like, holy shit, you went through the same thing, you know, like it's like you get to talk and share stories and how you felt and how you're getting over it, and you know, and kind of grow as human beings. And that's also why I like started this thing called Imperfect, you know, like Imperfect Podcast, because I feel like there's so much heaviness in this world that it's like I want to like learn from each other's mistakes, my mistakes, your mistakes, other people's mistakes, and grow and hopefully encourage people. You know, I mean, there's so many subjects to talk about. I mean, we're having a very tough conversation right now, but I have, you know, dozens of people in the past that have been rappers or film producers or photographers or whatever it may be. Like everyone has a story and like to share. Yeah. And I want to, like, me personally want to learn from it, but share it with other people as well. And so I think that's a really, really important note, is to talk to somebody and just get it off your chest, because I've honestly never felt better. My anxiety has never been at its best until I finally was able to talk to people about like these things that have happened to me and were years long in length and blah, 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 blah. But just like, it feels like so much of like the pain and, you know, like all the way even back to like being a child and being abused and things like that physically and stuff and mentally, obviously. But getting all that and like carrying it for so long, and then finally it took like one of my best friends a couple years ago for like us to kind of sit down and talk one night and then just kind of like get it out and him ask, and I was like, holy shit. Feels so good, like not keeping it here anymore. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying every way. Obviously, I don't know what rape is like. I don't know either side, and honestly, God, I hope I never do. You know what I'm saying? From anybody close to me or myself, but I know the not that burden, but a burden it is to carry, and the heaviness that it can weigh on you and your soul, and how bad it can hurt. So it's like getting that out and talking to people, family, friends, counselors, anybody, I feel like 100% can help you so much in this life get through by just fucking talking.
Right.
Period.
I mean, we can agree that humans are inherently social creatures. I mean, they did horrible experiments on babies where they gave them all the food and water and anything else they needed, but they didn't interact with them, and those babies ended up dying.
Really?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Humans really need to socialize.
Yeah, dude, we're imperfect. Like, humans are imperfect from the ground up. Like, I mean, even I feel like you're a great person, everything you're standing for and everything you're fighting for. Like, it's awesome to witness, you know what I'm saying? And me trying to do the show and trying to spread love, like everybody and anything is imperfect, you know what I'm saying? Like, my mom is the fucking greatest human being in this world, but she's imperfect. Like, we all have our flaws, but like the one thing I like to say on the show is understand and know that we will never be perfect, but try to be the best human being you possibly can. You know what I'm saying? It's like you will never get to this idea of perfection, you never will, but the idea and the journey to try to find that perfection should be an everyday thing. You know what I'm saying? I shouldn't just be like, oh, I'm happy with my fiance, I'm just gonna like be the average husband, play video games, never help out around the house, and she can do everything, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, I got to work every single day to better our relationship. Like, you never get to a point. It's just continuously fighting. So tying that back into what we said, it's like talking to people, getting it out, talking to somebody, grow yourself every single day. You're never going to get to this like, fantastic, I'm happy and everything's okay. And like I said, like my burden, a lot less heavy, but it's fucking still there. And it's probably never, ever going to go away. And I think you could agree with that.
Well, trauma comes in all shapes and sizes. A lot of people have PTSD coming from different things. You have war veterans. You have people who were abused as children. Trauma survivors are really from any point. You could probably, most people you meet in your life have faced some trauma or other, because not only are we imperfect, but life is imperfect, and a lot of tragedies happen. But like you said, if you work on yourself and you work to grow, that's what helped me with my traumas a lot. When I couldn't afford counseling, I wrote a lot of poetry, and that's actually how that was born, was just writing and working and constantly editing and working to make it perfect. If you saw the original poem from it was not great. It was pretty angry. It was a lot of blame, and so when I edited that, I wanted to take out the blame and more focus on just how we have to survive, and how the world really reacts to us, because while I am a little angry at the world still, I'm definitely willing to admit that, I want to more focus on how we can change and better things, rather than just being angry that they are as they are.
Oh, yeah. No, I respect that 100%. Like, because you're right. It's so fucking easy to get mad at this world, man. Like, I just, like I said, that event in my life, like, it was, in any point in that way, there's so many things that wasn't my fault. You know what I'm saying? I could have said 0.5 or 1% may have been mine. But so much of that just led to this and that and that and this. And then it just became this huge fucking thing. And then it was just like so much that ended up like fucking laying down on me. You know what I'm saying? And that's, again, that burden. I'm just like, fuck, like I'm so pissed at everybody and everything. And that was probably the one and only time I've ever got to the point of suicidal thoughts. You know, I still don't think I ever would have done anything. But that was the first time that I literally just wanted to fucking let go. Because I was like, I can't handle this fucking thing. It's just one thing after another. And nobody wants to fucking look at me and like take the time to ask how I'm doing or help or fucking fix what's going on because of all this fucked up shit. It's just like, it's happening. And it's like, in that moment, you're like, nobody's here. Nobody's helping. So
it's really easy to feel alone.
It very much is, you know. But again, when I started talking to someone, same thing. My best friend found out he went through a very similar thing. And I was like, holy shit, I'm not alone. Are you fucking kidding me? And now he's going to be the best man at my wedding. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, he's a fucking awesome dude, but it just talking to somebody, man. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how many times we can say it, but it's like being an advocate from two different traumas or histories or past or whatever, like being able to be like, hey, talking to somebody, it's the ultimate fucking cure.
It really is. You won't be cured immediately. It's still a lot to process, and there's still a lot of things you got to work on personally after. But just remember, you can't change what happened to you, and you can't control what happened to you, but you can control how you deal with it and how you move on past it. Don't let yourself fall into addiction. Don't let yourself fall into self-destructive tendencies. It's really, really easy to just want to lash out, to just want to be high all the time or drink all the time or just constantly sleep in your room. That's what I did for months after one of my most recent ones. I just couldn't handle it, and I burrowed in a hole, and it was really rough. So the best thing you can do is don't let yourself fall down into it. Feel the grief. Don't hide it. Don't push it away, but don't let yourself be consumed by it. Don't let it control you, and don't let it define you.
Right. And that's a big issue, is I think what happens to you ends up defining who you are as a human being. And that's hard to cope with, and to look in the mirror. It's like, no, like all I'm going to be is this victim, this hurt person, this painful, broken piece of human, you know. And you're just like, you know, that's how you view yourself. Not even from you. I've heard that from so many family, even people that haven't been through trauma, but like they may have made a mistake, or they may have not, I don't know, taken their kid out on their birthday because they had to work or something, and it tears them apart. So they just like, they can't get past it because they're like, you get so far in your mental, it can be a scary place.
Yeah, being alone with your thoughts is definitely something you want to avoid.
Talk to somebody, god damn it. Seriously, if there's anything.
Yeah, other people can tell you that you're wrong. Other people can tell you, hey, no, wait, that's the voice in your head. He's being fucked up. You don't listen to him. He's an asshole.
Right.
Other people can let you know really another view, another outside point, because there's a lot of self-blame often, especially with people blaming the victim, which is why, again, I say do not blame them. Do not ask them what they could have done. Ask them what you can do, because if they feel like it's their fault and you sit there and tell them it's not, then eventually, someday, they'll believe it. They might not believe you the first day or a week later or even a month later, but someday, if you keep telling them, they're going to finally realize it wasn't my fault. It wasn't what I wore. It wasn't because I hung out with him. It wasn't because I said yes to a drink. It was because he took advantage of me.
Yeah, that's fucking... It's literally awful. And it is hard. Like, when I say I've known a couple people, I've had a couple girlfriends that have, throughout time that have been hurt, you know what I'm saying, sexually assaulted, to actually put it seriously. And it's hard, I mean, I have a couple like that were like, very fucking like very hard to even open up and talk about it, and that's hard. Like to hear from someone that you love and stuff like that, and I'm not gonna play the innocent role where I'm just like, oh, it's totally their fault. I was just like, so what happened? Like, oh, I was partying and blah, blah, blah. And, like, we went to the room. And then I told him to stop. And I was like, well, why'd you go to the room? And I know it's fucked up. But, I'm being honest here. Like, as a younger high schooler, you're just like, that's the thinking that we're trying to break. I don't even know how it got in my head in the first place. Because if I was just, maybe had a better role model as kids anyways, like when I didn't have the greatest parents at the time, I maybe would have been thinking more clearly and better, what I'm saying, about these things. But it is one of those things that you get so questionable, and you're just like, and you ask all these questions, which I think would probably not be the best thing to do. You're just like, yeah, fuck no, and it's like, and that's just one of those things. And so I think I just made a lot of mistakes, like with those girlfriends, asking too many questions and trying. It's never like I never really didn't believe it happened. I was just that stigma, like what led it to happen, what I'm saying? And it's not okay.
Well,
what I'm saying?
It's really something that's been ingrained in all of us. I used to, fun fact, I used to be an anti-feminist. I used to hate on people who would want to wear looser clothes. I would hate on the people who said it wasn't their fault, because I always wondered why else would someone do it. It really, that's why this discussion is so important, because it really is ingrained into every single one of us from when we're very little, that women, I mean, you see the TV, you see the commercial, women are viewed as objects to be taken advantage of. 100%. And people will tell you things like, you wouldn't leave an open Rolex on the counter, would you? But I'm not a Rolex. I'm not an unlocked car. I'm not an unlocked house. I am a human being. I am not something that just because I don't wear 1,000 layers is open to be taken advantage of. So many people think that our worth is related to how we dress or how we look or how we behave. We have to be a certain way. And even the perfect victims, the perfect ones, right? The ones who did everything right, who were maybe 10 years old at the time, they were wearing their snow pants and their sweaters. It still happens to them. Yeah. And people still find a way to blame that on them. Well, why'd you let your uncle alone with you in the house? Because he's my uncle. Yeah, literally, like, what do you expect? Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's so hard, because I was having, back to Whitney, I was having the same conversation with her, talking about, bigger people and commercials that, I have this podcast where I want to talk about imperfection and people and all these raw things, but I also have a business where I need to make the best film I could possibly make and the best wedding, the most perfect wedding, and I got to do that. But it's also, going back, is like, I had a client come to me and say, I want to shoot a car commercial, and this is the kind of woman I need. And I'm like, oh, what about this woman? Like, oh, she's too big. We need a skinnier one. You see what I'm saying? And it's like,
it's so hard because I'm in this position where, I have a business and, the client's always right. Obviously, it's like running a store. It's like, you fucking, if they get mad and yelling at you, you're like, is there anything else I can help you find? Even though you want to fucking kill them. Yeah. But it's like, yeah, right. It's rough, but it's like the customer's always right, and hopefully I can get to a point in stand up and I can choose my films and things like that. But obviously we're all trying to be financially stable and just fucking get by because I'm trying to eat, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so whatever, but it's my point being is relating it to all this is there's so much stigma that can relate to this that also is in the same thing, that because you're right, everything we see online is skinny beautiful woman. It's impacted my fiance, it's impacted my mom, it's impacted so many women that I know, that it's like you got to look like this because this is perfection. You know what I'm saying? And you're scrolling through your gram, and it's even me as a male. Like, I can scroll through my gram and I'm like, fuck, look at those abs, or look at that. Like, I just want to be like that. Like, I've had those same things or this great life because of the idea of perfection. And it's fucking damaging so many people.
It really is.
Mentally and physically. You're just like, so like scrolling and seeing the greater lives that aren't yours. And it's so hard to just be like, I'm happy with my life because you think that your life isn't as good as other people's. But going back, seeing these people get chosen for roles and all these movies. I mean, we're finally getting to a point where bigger people are in movies. But what's the bigger person always play? The comedian, right? They're always the comedian. You will never see like a pure love story with no comedy. Let's just say some like fucking like Fault in Our Stars kind of shit with a bigger woman or a bigger male. Like completely serious, super love because
people want pretty people to fall in love.
Yeah, they want fucking beautiful ass fucking people. But why? But I feel like that trickles all the way down. Like that casting of a beautiful woman trickles down to like a young kid watching it. That's the idea of beauty, and that's what it needs to be. So when he grows up and finds a girlfriend, it's like, you're not pretty enough. Like, oh, you're pretty, so we can date and be out in public because you actually meet the standards of what the movies and the media that I'm consuming looks like. So I can date you. Yeah. But it's like, and I fell into that as a kid too. It's like I have a long history of pretty woman. Never that I told a bigger girl or something. No, like, but it's like I chased harder the more pretty ones. Why?
I mean, my ex-husband, his family, they hated me because they decided that I wasn't pretty enough for him.
Jesus Christ.
Seriously, they gave me hell for the 2 years we were together because I was not their level of perfection, because I didn't fit into their cooking mold. I didn't clean up after him. I didn't clean his nails for him. I really got into an argument with his mother because she wanted me to clean his nails for him, and I thought he was a grown man who could do it himself.
Dude, that's so crazy. My fiance's telling me the same shit. She's like, in Florida, like, woman cook clean. Like, that's your shit. Like, that's what they do. And she was telling me the same fucking shit. Yeah. Went to her boyfriend's house, and then his mom was all like, hey, you can help me do the dishes and clean, cook, do all this stuff. The very first time that she met him. Oh like the very first, like they were like, she walked to the door. She's like, come in the kitchen, honey. Like, like it's like, Jesus, man, they're a little behind over there.
Yeah, it's an idea that's peddled by everything. I mean, in ads, you see, instead of seeing women, you see just the bodies of women. Mm-hmm. You see their chests and you see their legs, and you don't ever see their face. In commercial for beer, you see women bent over hoods. You see women partying. You see women giving it away because they're drunk, and then we're taught that that's an okay thing to do because that's what we see in commercials. I honestly think the commercials are the worst of it. Hollywood definitely peddles some stupid ideal, but commercials really turn women from people into objects. You see their asses are used to peddle beer, their chests are used to peddle bras, but a woman can't breastfeed in public without being shamed for it. Yeah. It's like our bodies only exist to please everyone else, and it's honestly ridiculous, and I think it really, really contributes to how people see us and why people ask why we chose to be so pleasing, so desirable, and then they demean us for not being desirable. There's not really a win there. You can either be desirable and be attacked, or you can be undesirable and still be attacked. Yeah. It's like a rock and a hard place.
No, I totally agree. But one thing I think we're missing, like a huge subject that I'd love to get your thoughts on and kind of further this discussion. But porn. Like, what do you think porn does to our society? I mean, I guess my first question would be, do you think porn is good or bad overall? Like, do you think there should be porn sites, or do you think should not be porn sites?
That's a really complicated question. I think there should be more women-driven porn. And I know that sounds like some stupid feminist shit, but just hear me out. A lot of the porn that you see directed by men is a lot of incest. You see a lot of stepmom, stepsister, because the
facts.
step makes it okay.
Mm-hmm.
You see a lot of rape porn. I didn't realize rape porn was a thing until I was 16. I didn't realize it was legal. I always just ran under the assumption that you couldn't make video of it, but because technically it's two consenting adults faking a rape, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's okay, because that definitely promotes, because then you see the woman's like, no, and then she ends up liking it later. So that's what guys think will happen, is if they push hard enough, she'll like it later. Or if she just sits back and takes it, she'll like it later. And that's absolutely not true. But if you see female porn, female-directed porn, you see a lot more consent. You see a lot more questions like, is this okay? Is that okay? You see a lot more condoms. You see a lot more safe sex when women are directing porn, because they've been on the other side. You see a lot less incest too, a lot less. The incest really gets to me. But yeah, if you have women directing more of it, if you have women in more places of power in general, you tend to see more healthy ways of doing it rather than some forced ideal. You see plus size women in female directed porn. You see plus size men in female directed porn. You see dingalings of all shapes and sizes, because it doesn't have to be a giant 12-incher for it to be pleasurable. You see a lot more oral when women direct porn. Good oral, not the fake squirting stuff.
Oh God.
So I don't think porn in and of itself is evil, but I think the direction we, especially in the West, have gone with it, with a lot of forcing that leads to acceptance, definitely contributes to the rape culture we have today. Because if you see that a girl's eventually going to like it, then you're going to think that in real life she's eventually going to like it. Or if you see a woman acting like a contortionist, that's what you expect her to be in bed. And that's just, it's not reality. If we're going to do porn, we need to do a more realistic one. That's not saying anything to the furries out there. Y'all do you.
Right. No, I can relate. Like first, like, let's, like, real talk. But I mean, I was an advocate, like, porn watcher for a long time. Like, I found it at a young age, way fucking younger than I should have. Doing
I feel like most men did.
I feel like, like definitely all my friends were too, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, it's just like, you found it, you did it, you watched porn, you masturbate, you did all that shit. And I did that for a long fucking time, like at a very young age to when I got older. And I think that contributed to a lot of my thinking of, like you said, like, I think that led to a point where I had to question my own girlfriend, like, hey, like, did you lead or do this? Or I think it led to things where I check out women. I mean, you're in high school, you consistently break your fucking neck checking out women, like, consistently, because they're the object. You're like, oh my God, like, you do all this. I think it led to so many of those things. And then same thing when it came to, like, choosing a girlfriend. It's like, I said, I never, like, got to a point where I, like, fucking said no to somebody because of that. But it's like, I know it definitely pushed in some way that, like, oh, like, this is the perfect body and this is the perfect woman, pretty, blonde, skinny, tall. That's what my lineup of ex-girlfriends have been for the majority of my life. I think it contributed a lot of negativity. It was years ago that, I got to get so in detail yet I haven't even not talked about it, but that this big incident, all these things that happened to me, that I ended up stopped watching porn. And that was, I want to say, nearly 4 years ago, maybe 5. Long fucking time ago, I've stopped watching porn. Holy shit, it's helped everything. And I, like you said, I will take the time to say that's something that I could agree with, or at least research more, because I think you hit it on the head when you say, these porn videos that are about force and rape and directing, that's a lot of what I consumed. I mean, I fucking probably branched into every category there fucking is, because one, like, porn, what it is you watch something and that doesn't satisfy you. So what do? You up your levels. It's like, It really fucking is an addiction. Like, when I stopped, it was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life, was not to watch porn, because it is seriously a solid addiction. And I have every story in the world to tell you why it is. But with that being said, it was always something where it's like I watched one thing and it's like you watch so much of it and you like doesn't get you off anymore. You like go to the next thing and then the next thing, and then you are fucking ending up in these, not rapes, but these fake rapes and very fucked up like categories in porn that you didn't start at first. It was just like man and woman fucking, just like whatever. Oh my god, titties, like when you're a kid, you're just like what the fuck, like being like whatever the fuck. But like I said, it does escalate. But point being is, it's been years since I've stopped watching. I have not seen a porn video in so fucking long. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. And especially now that I've had a fiance and we've been together over 2 years, like things like that. But to this day, things still affect me when me and my girlfriend had to have a conversation about, like looking at women. Because I do believe in that instance where, you go out of your way to check out a woman and chase her down in the store, be like, oh, that's a nice ass. Or you're like, oh, she's pretty, and you continue on with your day. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like I think you're beautiful, like whatever. Like Scarlett Johansson, so I was like, oh, she's gorgeous.
Yeah.
There's a difference of like, she is gorgeous, right? Like it's a difference of saying someone's actually beautiful than actually like doing bad things, like masturbating or thinking about her sexually or taking off her clothes or eyeballing or objectifying her, all those other things that are negative. And my fiance, of course, like nobody wants to hear like you're checking out women or whatever, or just saying someone else is pretty. But we, like we both found that common ground. Like people are beautiful. Like there are a lot of beautiful fucking people in this world. They like really is. I don't like to fat shame or skinny shame, but if someone looks fucking beautiful, they look beautiful.
Right.
Period. But going back, I know it's a long ass rant.
No, you got it.
But just like porn in general, I think that is just me witnessing so much in my life of like this is what women like, or this is what women are, or these things that have still to this day affected my mental because I was able to watch it so freely. And it was just, you grow up, it's so normal. It's really so fucking insane how normal it is. I have friends to this day that still masturbate that are married. Yeah. Like, and to porn and all this masturbation and watching porn, two different things. But watching porn, I still have friends that watch porn to this day, and it's fucking insane to like, just like, dude, like that's so crazy. Like, I know people have their times and, maybe it, XYZ, they may have the reasons or whatever, and we grew up doing it, so I mean, again, to them it's normal.
Right.
But it was like, God, look how I'm acting, to women. And it's when I started to kind of become this new gauge a couple years ago, like I said, when I started coming out more, not coming out as gay, but you know what I'm saying, like coming out and letting go of my burden and becoming a human being again, finding what I want to do in this fucking world. And it's like, I finally was able to do that, but again, there's so much that has not traumatized, but affected me.
Honestly, porn in small amounts is really okay, but you really hit the nail on the head with the more you consume, the weirder it gets. I've seen maybe a handful of porn videos in my life. My porn of choice is erotica, because it tends to be women that write it, and they get really in depth on the things that are actually good for them.
Like
but then,
love stories and
and on the actual specifics on what women like rather than what men think women like, which tends to be wrong. I'll take this moment to say clit, not cervix. But even with me, as I got more and more into erotica, the more I read it, the weirder mine got. So really, it doesn't matter what platform you put it in, and I think porn can be okay in healthy amounts, but it's really hard to stop. And it's, like you said, it's really hard to stop. And it's much, much harder to keep it in healthy amounts. Everything in moderation, but it's really hard to moderate something like that when it feels so good. But I want to go back to what you were talking about with watching women. A lot of people take it a step further. They'll catcall, which
very true.
Pretty. People say it's a compliment, and people say that we just need to accept it and move on. But how would you feel if one of your male friends was like, "Hey, pal, nice ass"?
Yeah, no.
You wouldn't feel complimented. You'd feel pretty gross.
Right.
And a lot of people don't seem to take it, and they think, "Oh, I would only think that's gross because that's gay." But it's really hard to explain in a way that I really want to force people to understand that it's like one of the grosser things you can do to people, because it's violating. Someone's going about minding their own business, and then suddenly they're being screamed at for existing.
Right, but like the difference though is like like, because it'd be different if a friend said it to me because I know
Right.
they're joking.
Right.
But like a stranger is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Just a random dude walking down the street
Yeah,
going,
yeah, no,
nice ass.
Yeah, 100%. That's definitely like, oh, holy shit, okay. 'Cause, trust me, I've had experiences where gay guys have tried to reach out and message, and oh my god, like you live in this Tinder grinder culture that it's,
Oh,
you know,
right. Everyone thinks everything's an app for
yeah,
dating.
yeah, literally. So you're like, hey, let's fuck, and it's like, bro, this is Facebook, and I don't even know you. What the fuck? Like, leave me alone.
That incident actually happened to me just the other day. I don't know if you saw my Facebook, but a man messaged me and I mentioned my boyfriend and he offered to show me his bulge.
Oh, yep, I saw that.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I want to get there. But going back to
Catcalling?
yeah, catcalling is, you're right. Like that's exactly, even I've never gotten to that point. Thank God. Like I can honestly, like I never was like walking down the street like, hey, nice ass, you know? But like, again, I mean, I would look or uncomfortably stare for a long time. Or like I used to work at a retail store and I'd see a pretty woman. I'd be like, bro, you know, like come check out this, you know? It's totally objectifying. It's so fucked up. I know. But, you know, like that's how I was, you know what I'm saying? And nobody even taught me to be who I am now. Nobody did. Like I just like, became,
you kind of picked it up from everyone else.
Like I just self-woke. I was just like, why, this isn't okay. I don't think this is okay. And like really I still don't think it is, like fucking wrong and calling out women. These things are not okay. But like I said, like with my fiance, we had to come to this bridge, like what, like, you know, calling people beautiful and admiring their beauty and having a genuinely, if you're honest with your wife, which I hope you fucking are, or husband, and you're like, I genuinely just think they're pretty, and that, like, that's it. You mention it. You know what I'm saying? I think old people got to that point because you notice, like, old people will be like, oh, look, she's pretty, huh, honey? He's like, oh, she is pretty, and then they move on. There's nothing sexual. It's, like, harmless. Like, she's pretty.
Yeah, it's precious when old people do it.
Yeah, literally, like, you know? But it's like, but when you're going around catcalling, or you're checking them out, or you're following them around, or you're telling your guys, come check this ass out, and they're like, oh, I'd fucking hit it, you know? And, like, they're talking about that kind of, like, not, I guess it's called male culture? I don't know what the appropriate term would be, but, you know...
gross. I don't know.
Yeah, gross. Like, yeah, exactly. And so it's like, it is fucked.
Yeah, especially the following. It really terrifies women when a man starts following her. Even if he's following just to look, there are so many times that looking goes to touching. And honestly, it's why girls like carry keys in their hands or carry pepper spray with them. Because, following is 10 times creepier than catcalling, but neither should be done because you're taking a woman, you're taking a person who's just living and existing, and you're turning them into an object. You yell at them like you would yell at the TV while watching football, and that's honestly, it's really ridiculous because she's not there for you to gain pleasure from. She's not there solely to get your attention. And so many people get so angry when their attention is rejected, but she just wanted to go shopping. She just wanted to pick up her dog from the daycare. She just wanted to exist. She didn't want to exist for you, and she doesn't want to exist to please you. And so many people can't get that in their head. Just appreciate it. Appreciate her beauty. That's fine.
Right.
Like, be like, oh God, she's gorgeous. Move on with your day.
Don't bother her. Yeah, I see. That's where the line is. Is it because I got to a point where, like, to this day, like, guys and girls, like, these relationships, they'll lie to each other. And I came to a point where, like, my fiance asked me if I was looking at a girl. And at the time, I may have, like, been doing that same thinking, oh, yeah, like, you know, that's hot as fuck, you know, whatever the fuck. But I had to come to a mind, like, this isn't okay anymore. You know, but I did find myself like, oh, like, she is gorgeous. And I was like, oh, my God, like, there's, you know, everyone always thinks it's like this side or this side, but there can be an equal. It's like you can have, like you said, a healthy amount of thinking people are beautiful. That's okay. Like, my mom's beautiful. Friends are beautiful. My fiance has friends that are beautiful. Like, people can be beautiful. That's okay to acknowledge people's beauty. That is okay. But when you go further than that, like you said, following, touching, acting, talking, it leads to bad places. And I don't think that's okay.
It should be said that complimenting is okay. Tell her you like her hair. Tell her you like her outfit.
Oh, yeah?
Don't tell her you like her ass.
Yeah.
Like, you would think that'd be obvious. Like, we love compliments. Honest, anybody loves compliments. If someone tells you you have really pretty eyes, you're like, oh, thanks. But if someone's like, yeah, I'd stick my dick between those tits. That's not I've actually had that said to me. I was, I think, 15. And
God, Jesus.
I was walking in New Mexico. Yeah, they're construction workers. Of course, it was construction workers. But they said that, and I told them I was 15, and they're like, all right, call me in 3 years. And I was just so mortified. People really think the most nasty, horrible things they say are just okay. If no one's ever seen it, there's this short, Wednesday Addams as an adult, and it has a perfect episode. I think it's season 2, episode 2, whatever episode it is, but two guys catcall her, and so she brings in these big old burly dudes to do the same to them as they were doing to her, and those men freaked out. They lost it, and I thought that was brilliant. I wish I had the money to do what she did.
Right. No, that's cool though, or not that cool, but I mean to get that point across, it's that's awesome. To spread that kind of knowledge. It's insane. It's insane, and I'm sorry you have to go through those kind of things. Like I said, I've never been a woman. Don't think I'm ever going to be a woman. But I definitely grew up inside of this thing where, thank God I've never done or harmed a woman. To this day, there's so much we can talk about my past, but I have been with a few women, quite a few, and I've made it to a fucking point to always be like that. But I mean, I don't think I was ever gonna head there. To be honest, I think I was always I maybe just was born good, and I think my mom, regardless of the mistakes she made to me when I was a kid and her parenting, I've never been to that point. You know what I'm saying? But I do, like I said, these little things that I'm telling you, I'm open up to you to describe like how I totally agree, and I see these things. The way I was thinking, the porn I was watching, the way I was acting, the way I was treating my girlfriend, and the things that she needed to do because of XYZ is a lot from the porn watching, the bad parenting, the guy culture okaying it, the stuff we watch and consume. There's so many things that play into it where you live in a world where it's okay. It's okay to think and act and touch and talk and do these things and I think that's what leads to this whole what was she wearing, and it's like that has nothing to absolutely do with it. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, when it's pressed on you and pushed on you that it's okay to do it, because I mean, even in porn, back to that, we do see videos where guys catcall and it ends successfully.
Yeah, and exactly. So what do you think a teenager's gonna do? Is like, if I catcall, I'll get her. You know what I'm saying? And
they think it's a way to get her attention, but honestly, it's just a way to tell her that she does not want to be near you.
Literally. Well, I mean, yeah, that's definitely true. But what about? Here's a good question. What do you think about celebrities or women that are like okaying that? You know what I'm saying? I say that in a way like, what could I think of an instance? Like, all I can think is like, a bunch of celebrities like showing their asses on Instagram, and I'm not at all saying that they deserve rape or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, what do you think, like, when they are like showing their ass and like, porn stars, oh fuck yeah, like I followed Instagram porn stars back in the day, Facebook and all that shit, and they're all like, oh fuck me and blah 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 blah, and like doing all these things like, oh hit me up, like I'd love to fuck you, like in acting like this, come fuck me, and guys are just consuming their feed like, oh, like she wants to get fucked, like it's okay to just act this way towards women,
That's another tricky one. With Hollywood celebrities showing their asses and whatnot, I think they're kind of in a box where, as you talked about, customer's always right. And sex sells. We know that.
Yep,
we
facts.
see it everywhere.
Yep, 1,000 facts.
Yeah. So I feel like Hollywood celebrities kind of feel like they have to. Like, that's what's going to keep them relevant.
Money,
that's what's going to keep them famous. That's what's going to get them in movies and get people talking about them. I mean, we saw Beyonce with that really sheer glittery dress where you saw everything. Yeah. As for Instagram stars, I think you might label them under sex work. And I have a lot of mixed feelings about sex work. I feel like currently it's dangerous because it's not legal, so it's not regulated, so you get a lot of sex trafficking rather than work. And I wish we didn't have to sell our bodies in order to make a profit. I wish there were more options for women. I wish there were more ways that we could make profits. I wish we could go up in companies faster and get promoted faster. But as we know, that's not really an option very often for women. A lot of women are stuck working their secretary jobs or stuck at low-level jobs because they're not, one, they're not as aggressive asking for promotions. And two, a lot of people now are afraid that they look like they're trading their bodies for promotions. So oftentimes sex work is an outlet for women. It's a way for them to sell themselves, but also make money off of that. And while it seems wrong and while it sounds like a really taboo subject, I get where they're coming from. After a few times of mine, I became really promiscuous. I decided that if I always wanted it, then there's no way that they could take that from me.
Right.
If I always initiated, if I always offered, then
Right.
I couldn't be assaulted because they can't take it if I say yes.
Right.
And so I think a lot of the sexuality is a lot of women just taking that power back.
Right.
And I feel like it's different when women sexualize themselves versus when they are objectified to sell something else. Because if they're selling themselves and then they are still selling their whole selves. But if it's just their ass selling a beer, then they become an object rather than a person. It's really, really fine
Hard.
line.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I'm genuinely asking, like, these are, and the insight you have is awesome. First of all, thanks. It's not like you want to be in this, have this much knowledge, for, the past and shit. And I'm sorry.
It's all right.
But the fact that you do is good, and I like the word that you're spreading again, and that we can talk about these very difficult things. But I agree. I think, so many things are just, everybody thinks life is black and white. Everything, what I'm saying? And I could have had this like perfect experience, and I'm like, no, this is how you help it. And someone could have the exact same experience, but they got through it in a completely different way.
That's completely true.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many more fucking things than just black and white. So many more. You know what I'm saying? So, but like talking about these, that's why I'm curious, like, to have this kind of knowledge, because like I am, like I said, I want to be an advocate for fucking I guess just the most moral person that there is right now is, I guess, moral, but like, a person that could, it's okay. Like, it's two sentences. As long as you're not hurting yourself or somebody else, do whatever the fuck. It's that simple. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
like,
exactly.
It's that simple. And there's so many things like gays are okay. It's okay to be lesbians and gays or whatever. It's okay to like, do XYZ and porn and blah, 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 blah. All these things is like, but like it gets so complicated when it does trickle into these areas, like, oh, like you do your porn, but then my son ends up watching it or something like that, and you're just like, oh fuck, now like what you're doing is affecting in one way or another. And like we said, it could be that fine line of bad or good or whatever they're consuming. I agree. Like, I never thought I would agree, because to me, like it has been addiction, and I would never step into that realm again, just because like I don't want to get that thinking. I think I'm doing a lot better of how I'm acting towards my fiance and women in general because like of that. But at the same time, I never considered that what I was watching was so much of that shit. Maybe if I was watching a little bit more softcore, like love, like actually true love, it would have been like a little bit different. But it's also like everybody wants to fight porn in general. Let's say fucking like, what about Game of Thrones? Like, that's fucking porn. You know what I'm saying?
Game of Thrones has a lot of issues in and of itself. I couldn't get through it because of all the rape it did have. And I know people said that it was to be historically accurate, but I mean, where are the hairy women then? All of the women had fully shaved armpits and perfect hair, and if you want accuracy, then have all the accuracy. Don't just have the traumatic accuracy. And most Game of Thrones viewers turn out to be men, which makes sense considering the porn most men watch. So you see a lot of tits, you see a lot of rape.
Only a couple penises.
Yeah, and one of them was chopped off.
Yeah, literally. Like, yeah, no, I'm a huge fan of Game of Thrones, well, until last season, but I am a huge fan. But you're right, there are a lot of politics that do play into these things, and I haven't researched like hair and all that. I don't know anything like about that stuff, but I could totally agree. Like, I think a lot of like things are changed to better apply to women. I mean, even if it was like, I mean, we've seen time and time again, like when like a movie's made about a real person, the real person's always a little bit chubbier or less attractive, but the person that plays them is very much more attractive and blah, 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 blah. Like, they could have like an identical twin and they're like, we need to up that up because then, like, we'll sell more tickets because you're a beautiful person. You know what I'm saying? So I totally agree with that. But yeah, like, people like, oh, like this is okay or bad or whatever you may think, but there is a point where it's like there is porn online, but there is porn trickling into things like Game of Thrones or Shameless or whatever it may be that has this nudity. Right. And again, I'm at the same place. I'm still in this weird spot, like what is okay and what's not. You know what I'm saying? Because I've gotten to like a point where I'm like, okay, porn's not okay online. And to look it up and to masturbate and have these tendencies, like for me personally, like that's just not okay for me anymore. But when I'm with my fiance and we're laying down and watching Shameless or Game of Thrones and you see some tits or something come on and you're just like, oh, and it's like you move on from it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I want to, at the time I'd be like, oh my God, boobies. I haven't seen other people's boobs in so long, and now it's finally got to the point, like after, just a couple of months with my fiance, I got to the point where it was just like, oh, like it's just boobs. Like, it's like I move on to it. I don't think about it. I don't masturbate to it later and be like, oh, boobs, whatever. Like it goes over my head. It's done. But I think that's just a large part because I finally cut porn in general out of my life. But again, it is personally. You know what I'm saying? Like, this whole conversation can be as big as like drinking. Like, drinking is addictive, but people drink and are totally fine their entire lives.
Right.
They could be totally social drinkers. Like, maybe the same is for porn. You know, maybe you can watch a little bit of porn or get off a couple, you know, whatever, a little bit or whatever. That could totally be harmless.
I think the key really with porn is just the type. Definitely avoid rapey things. That episode where, what's his name? The big dude, Jason Momoa.
Oh, yeah.
Where he raped her and then they turned it into a loving relationship. That's really where it killed me right there.
Khal
because
Drogo. I didn't think about that. That's a good point.
Yeah. Their relationship started out just continuous rape, and then she eventually decided to accept it, and that turned into love.
And then she loved him, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really, really toxic thing to be teaching people.
Yeah,
and it's subliminal.
Yeah. That fucking key word, subliminal, is 100%, like I said, with the movies and everything. It's so hard to, like, again, we live in a very this is all okay, what we're thinking, what we're doing, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
But when you, like, look back, you're like, holy shit, there's so many messages. Like, just being woke enough, being like, just that. It's like, why are there no bigger women in just a normal love film? Why? And you're just like, because your whole life, you can go through a freaking whole, like, 1,000 DVD cabinet, pull out the movies of, like, bigger woman in a serious film. It's not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Or like a very attractive male. Like, why can't like a girl ever just like when like a scene come to your mind? And I'm a huge movie watcher. Okay, when can a scene come to your mind where like a beautiful, skinny waisted, attractive woman like looks over and there's like a chubby male taking off his shirt and she's like, oh my god, you know, like because the male has to be abs, attractive, V-line, you know, like it's just how it is, and it's so hard to just accept yourself. Because all this shit and all these messages that are put into your brain.
Perfection is pushed on us hard.
Perfection is fucking... So what do we have to accept? Imperfection, bitches. Perfect plug. But yeah, it's all real shit. But anyways, taking that, so talking about and ripping that apart, I do want to lead into what you were about to talk about earlier about your post. Tesla, why are you posting all these crazy ass memes? First of all, they're funny as fuck. I will admit that, but I'm like, what the fuck?
All right. My own plug. Tessla Draper, TESSLA. You will see me call out a fuck ton of dudes on some bullshit. All right. So, my whole life, always been having inappropriate comments from men, been sexually assaulted so many times, et cetera, right? I'm sick of it. Facebook made it so much worse. Every time I opened, because they've learned to leave me alone now. But,
right.
For years, every time I opened my inbox, it was some dude talking about how he wanted to fuck me, how he wanted to do this to me, how he wanted to cheat on his girl for me, or how he wanted me to cheat on my man for him. And I got sick of it. All of these men have been bombarding these girls with their dicks, with their compliments, with their questions, with their begging. And they haven't been held accountable for it. And I figure, what's the best thing I can do to hold a man accountable? Because it's not illegal to do what they do.
Oh, yeah. No.
It should be, but it's not.
Yeah.
Public humiliation. Why not just call them out and show the world what the fuck they're doing? He's not the first guy you've seen that I've called out on my Facebook.
Yeah, I've seen a couple.
There's been quite a few. I called out a guy for trying to get me to, he said, be a slut for money, which I guess is just a whore. I posted him on Facebook. I posted another guy who told me that, what did he do? Oh, he told me he wanted to eat me out while he was living with his girlfriend who was paying the rent. So Jesus. I called him out on that. That turned into like a 6-month thing. But people often think I'm doing it for the drama, and while the comments are definitely hilarious and they definitely,
right.
I mostly do it just to one, call them out, let them know that this shit is not okay,
Yeah,
and
it's
two, to
inappropriate.
warn other people. Now, if they see his name, right, if they see that I've posted him and they see what he said to me, they know not to answer him if he messages them.
Right.
They know to like put him on block. And then if his girlfriend sees that he's trying to cheat on her, then she knows the kind of man that she's dating, and other people know to avoid him later because he's a cheater.
Yeah.
It's more to give a warning to the other women, to let them know who to avoid, because there are so many people out there who seem decent when you first meet them, and then they have this online persona that's just completely fucked, and they shouldn't be able to get away with that.
Yeah.
So it's I guess a double-edged sword thing. It's to
Right.
get them to, one, leave me the fuck alone, to leave other women alone,
And scare them not to do it again.
right, and to scare other people not to do
Yeah.
it. If other dudes see that if you send me a dick pic, I'm going to call you out and post your dick for the world to see, then they're not going to send me their dick. And
Right.
it actually works. Ever since I've been doing that, I've been getting less and less posts. It happens.
Because they're going through your feed. They're like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
So
and I post all my stuff publicly. So, like, everybody can see, like,
Right.
the whole world can see what I'm
they
doing
are.
to them. And so, yeah, if you want to be castrated publicly, then go ahead and message me.
Yeah. So you would probably encourage other girls to do the same then, right?
Absolutely. Send it to his mom, send it to his sister, let them know what their son is doing, let them handle it, or post it like I do. If you post it like I do, you're going to get a lot of backlash. I'm going to tell you that now. But a lot of friends are probably going to defend you too, because my friends have hopped on that and they have, torn them apart. You should see the roasting that goes on in the comment section. It's beautiful.
Right. No, I'm with you 100,000%. I think if you, dude, it's one thing when you're single and you're reaching out for, again, that's a different conversation. The whole Tinder thing, you're trying to fuck and someone else wants to fuck, you go do your own thing, you go do whatever. But like when you are in a relationship, that shit gets to me too, because it is a very cheating culture. I have people that are married, friends and family that have like willingly, like, yeah, I cheated like when we first got together on someone else or something. And I'm like, and it's so fucking normal.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm not going to say like I've been perfect. I've made mistakes when I was younger again, you know what I'm saying? But it's just, it's crazy. People can be 35, 40 years old and still not get it. And it's like,
we see the
holy
memes
shit.
too. There are like
Oh
so
my God,
many
yeah,
side chick memes
so
and
many.
side
like
dude
when your
memes.
side chick hits you back and your woman's right there. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
It's
seriously.
like I have not fucked up humor, but like I think things could be funny. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like because the world's a heavy place, and so it's like a good to laugh every now and again. But it's like you're right. You're like oh my God, like somebody actually like does have a side bay, and they're like, oh, like this shit's funny because I have a side bay.
So normalized now.
It sucks.
It really, yeah.
Like I can't, like, I promise the fuck out of my fiance if like I was just like there's a fucking some woman in front of me or something, like I would never fucking cheat on her, period. Because if anything would ever fucking happen ever, and I'm just saying at the very worst of anything, I'd be like, hey babe, fucking like get together, like we have to break up and then go do whatever the fuck I want the next day, whatever the fuck, you know what I'm saying? But that bitch, my fiance, sorry, we fucking swear at each other all the time. I did not, this is out of context, but we always swear at each other. We're always like, bitch. But like my fiance, every time, like I would literally like give her the time of day to be like, it's over first. It's over first. Then I can go do whatever the fuck stupid Gage in some dimension wants to do, because whatever. But cheating like that is so fucked up. And so when you say put someone on blast, I'm like, good.
Yeah.
Like, put them on. If they're going to take the time to be that stupid to fucking message somebody else that I don't even know, just trying to get fucking laid. And it's like, yeah, fucking post that shit up. I would totally agree.
Yeah. Even if you're single, if they send a unsolicited dick pic,
Yeah.
show it. Show the world.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I mean, you might want to bleep out the actual dick, but show the world that they shows
Yeah,
dick.
it's just like there's talk, bro. Fucking hey,
Right.
like is it that hard to be like, hey, how you doing? And talk for a minute and be like, hey, like I'm kind of trying to hook up. Like at least just play, but like that's how it is. Like because those things you're posting, it's like, hey, it's like, what's up? And a dick pic. You're like, what the fuck?
Seriously.
Nobody asked for this, you know? But it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like even when I was back in my younger day, I'd be like, hey, like how you doing? Like let's go to dinner or whatever. And like you trying to hang out, come to my place, like hinting, because you're taking it slow and you're not like fucking, hey, let's, you drive them over without asking. You fill it out first and you're like, do you want to maybe come downstairs? Like you ask. It's so simple.
Seriously, consent is key, and it's the most easy thing to achieve. You ask and they say yes or no, and then you move on. Like consent is probably the easiest thing you can get.
Yeah,
And if they
literally.
don't give it, then don't try to force it, because
Yep.
forced consent is not consent.
Yeah.
If they're too afraid to say no, that's not a yes.
Yeah.
If they feel forced into saying yes, that's not a yes.
Yeah.
If they're annoyed into saying yes, that's not a yes. They need to be active and they need to be willing. They need to actually want it. They got to be like, fuck yeah, and pulling their pants down with
that's
you.
what I'm saying. Yeah, that's how you know, is like when they start kissing you, and that's what I'm saying, is like when you feel it out, it's just take it slow. I think that's like the simplest thing that I've just done my whole life.
Seriously.
You know, I think like my mom never, could play into the bad or good parenting, was never like, oh, like you're good or you should ask a woman or whatever. But my mom was good because what she did is she taught me to like be a gentleman. And that's one thing my mom, like I grew up without a father. So like I'm a very, not feminist, but very feminine person because I grew up with just a mom. And so she was always like, ask, like, and just be nice and be courteous. So I just always, with any woman or anything like that. And oh God, have I been on dates where and like try to get laid and they're like, no. I was like, well, fuck, this is an awkward drive home. And I take them home, like,
Right.
Period. You know what I'm saying? But it's just being nice, be a good human being, and just take it slow. You'll find somebody. If you want to get laid, there's fucking Tinder and there's so many other things that you can
Seriously.
get laid. But you still need to be curious or courteous. Sorry, because even like I didn't have Tinder. Like I was still doing this shit before like that was even popular. So I was like still like just talking to women in school or whatever. But you just be curious and talk to people and ask these questions. I feel like, and just take it slow, because I mean you're gonna find so much more reward, I guess you would say, than going out and sending dick pics or being just fucking stupid and
Seriously.
irresponsible and inappropriate.
And nothing turns a woman on more than conversation,
Right,
honestly.
yeah.
Like,
I think
give her some good convo and you'll get to give her some
Yeah.
good dick. Like,
dude, I
it's-
think that's like every time you like ever about to get laid, like that's what happens. You're like, yo, you're into Call of Duty too? And they're like, how you doing? And then you're like, like
right? Find some similar things. Talk to them about things they like. Don't just send them your dick because they don't want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
They'll ask for it if they want to see it.
Yeah,
Trust me.
yeah, they'll ask. There you go. Exactly. No, that's big facts. It's big facts. I just want to say a huge thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
And being honest and being real and having these very harsh conversations. I know it's definitely not easy. And like you said, I think the two big things we can take away from this whole thing is be nice, be honest, be a good, human being, try to better yourself every day. And then when you do go through these traumas and these things that were uncalled for, talk to somebody,
Always. Yes.
be a friend, be helpful, ask your friends how they're doing if they're not looking right, like whatever and anything we can do. I think going back to our film is we just wanted to encourage people to just fucking be strong and fight people. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the biggest takeaway. I'm so proud of that film to this day because we made something that I'm telling people now, if you missed it, we're just trying to fucking encourage women to fucking be women and be strong and be them and be who they are, rather than telling anybody how to handle anything, because that's never what we were trying to fucking do to anybody. Pretty period. But thank you so much for coming on. This has been an awesome fucking conversation. I hope people learn from this. I hope we can have some interesting comments in these comments down below.
Be gentle.
Gentle, please. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Tess, for coming out on the show. And we'll see y'all later. Peace.